So as we're waiting for others to join the call, for those of you who have joined the call, I'd be interested to know, are you a business owner? Are you a department manager? Are you an employee who's been tasked with the challenge of getting processes written? If you could type that into the chat box, that'd be really interesting to me. It also helps me tailor today's presentation to the specific interests of those who are attending. I'd also be curious to know how many employees are in your company, and what does your company do? Are you a service-based business? What are the products and services that you offer? And we're going to get started in just a few minutes. Okay, let's get started. So today's presentation is how to systematize your business, how to get processes and procedures and policies in place so you can actually get some freedom, get some consistency going in your organization, get some reliability from the employees who are working for you so that they're doing things the way you want them done. And a lot of people hear this in books like The E-Myth or Traction or Built to Sell. There are all sorts of books out there that talk about the importance and value of processes, but what they don't talk about is how to actually get your processes in place, how to create a process-dependent business. And so that's what I'm going to walk you through today. There are actually 5 steps in doing this. One is vision. Second is org chart. Third is process identification. Fourth is process linking. And the 5th is prioritizing the writing of your processes. And I'm going to walk through each of these steps today and explain briefly what they are. And then I have a really great offer for you at the end if you stick with me. I want to start with talking a little bit about who I am, because you're going to be listening to me for the next 25, 45 minutes, however many questions there are, however long this takes me. So let me talk a little bit about who I am. I actually have a small business called Business Design Corporation. I'm one of the managing partners. And I want to say that I've experienced business freedom. In fact, we often say that there are 3 types of freedom that business owners are looking for. One is they want to sell their business for what they think their business is worth, not for what someone's going to pay for it, but for what they think their business is worth. And I do have a story about that as we move along. Second characteristic of business freedom, some people, they want to be calling in for the British Virgin Islands for the numbers, calling in for the numbers from the British Virgin Islands, or you could put any vacation spot in there. They basically want to be managing their business without having to do everything in the business. And the third is being able to do what you love in the business without having to do all the things that you don't love doing. So maybe you love selling. Maybe you're a lawyer who has who just wants to work with maybe 5 or 6 or 10 cases throughout the year, that cherry pick the cases. But everything else gets handled by somebody else. So these are typically the 3 characteristics of business freedom. And I had a situation in my current business, the one I run now, where I had some business freedom. I have some business freedom now, but I actually had a situation where I took 14 months off, and my wife, who you see in the bottom corner there, and my son, who's patting a little baby elephant there, we took 14 months and we traveled around the world. That whole time I came back, and at the end of my adventure, we called it An Epic Adventure. And if you're interested, you can go to www.anepicadventure and read a lot of stories that I wrote when we were traveling. We had this amazing adventure. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever done in my life. And I came back to a business that was still humming along as if I'd never left. And that's freedom. That's the freedom to do what you love to do. And the only reason to own a business, I'm not saying that these are not my words, these are Michael Gerber's words. Michael Gerber talks about the only reason to own a business is to get more of what you want from life. And if traveling is what you want from life, vacations are what you want from life, you should be able to take a vacation at any point. That's business freedom. But it always wasn't that way with me. First of all, I'm a graduate in English and philosophy. I remember my parents saying, "What is that going to get you?" I graduated in 1979 from the University of Toronto, Trinity College, University of Toronto, and I went to work for my dad, and I was his sales manager. And it wasn't great. I love my dad, but I didn't want to be working in that business. We were in the construction tool and fastener business, and it just wasn't great. I didn't love it. And so in 1983, I started a software company called ArtFile. We started computerizing art galleries, and I moved the business to New York City. In 1993, I sold that company. But I will tell you that while I owned ArtFile, life was a challenge. But I was only in my mid-20s. I wasn't married. I didn't have any children. I was working from 8 or 9 a.m. until often 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes 7 days a week. I mean, I was living in New York City, so it was unbelievable. I could easily go out at 2 o'clock in the morning and go grab some dinner, but then I got married, and then I had a child in 1989. I had a child, and so it started to kind of get difficult to be working like that. Everything depended on me. I mean, I had 8 employees, and they were good employees, but they weren't great. And then I had to fire people and hire people and go through the hiring process, and everything was always depending on me. It just wasn't a great experience. In 1993, I sold ArtFile. I sold my software company, and I didn't quite know what to do at that point. I took a little bit of time off. I will tell you that I sold that company exponentially less than what I thought it was worth. I basically took a bath, and I worked all that time from 1983 to 93, 10 years, all that time thinking I was putting in sweat equity. What was I putting in? Sweat. There was no equity. I basically got out of that company and was kind of stuck. So I started doing a little bit of consulting with other companies, management and sales consulting, and then I read this book called The E-Myth, and it was very interesting. I read this book and I thought, you know what, this is what my clients, my existing management clients and sales clients need. This was what they were missing, and I thought this is what I was missing too when I had my business. And just around that time, Michael Gerber came up with this whole program called the E-Myth Mastery Course, and you could become a certified consultant to deliver his E-Myth Mastery program. And so I created a company in 1994 called Business Design Corporation, and we were a group of master certified E-Myth consultants, and we delivered the E-Myth Mastery program for years and years and years. But what we were finding was, while there was a lot of valuable information in the E-Myth Mastery program, a lot of our clients would spend tens of thousands of dollars and go through months and months and sometimes years of consulting, but they wouldn't get their processes built. They wouldn't get their job descriptions implemented. And so we decided to create a software application, which we've called the TouchStone Business System, that helps you organize and implement your processes. And we started moving away from the consulting part and delivering all this theory, and we focused on how do we get processes built. And over that time, over those 15, 17 years of delivering E-Myth theory, and then an additional 8 to 10 years, we've been doing this for more than 25 years, we developed a 5-step plan for how to implement your processes. And that's the plan that I'm going to walk you through today. And I will actually show you, I'll touch into this TouchStone software, because there are 2 things that most people are missing when they want to systematize their business. One is they don't have a tool. They're trying to use something like Google Docs or Dropbox or Microsoft Word or Visio or some project management tool to help them systematize their business. And that never works. You really need a software application to help you do what you need to be done. It's kind of like trying to build a house without the proper tools. If you're a drywall contractor, you need drywall tools. If you're a framer, you need framing tools. So if you want to build a process-dependent business, you need a process-dependent business tool, and that application is called the TouchStone Business System. The second thing that most people are missing is a plan for how to get your business to become process dependent. And that's what we're going to go through today. And as I said a moment ago, there are 5 steps. The first step is vision. And you might say, what's vision got to do with building a process dependent business? I thought all I needed to do was write a bunch of processes. Well, you can get started writing processes at any time, but what you're going to end up with is what we like to call SOP chaos. You're going to get these processes all over the place in all different formats. You've got Google Docs, Word docs, spreadsheets, videos, checklists, forms, PDF files, and they're all over the place, and nobody's using them. And so all of that energy, all of that time and money and effort that you've put into systematizing your company, it basically is lost. And so we recommend following this 5-step plan. And it begins with vision. If you don't know where you're going, how are you ever going to get there? And many of you will tell me, I've got a vision, but it's up here. It's sitting up here, and it's not down on paper. Your vision is going to help you onboard employees. It's going to help you manage your employees. It's going to help you do strategic planning, and it's going to help you hold your employees accountable. And there are studies out there that show that if you actually document your vision and measure your progress towards the achievement of your vision, you have a 300% better chance of achieving your vision than if you don't. So why wouldn't you do this? It's a very, very simple step. And there are actually 3 steps in systematizing your vision or creating your vision: mission, purpose, and values. And mission is your big, hairy, audacious goal. Purpose is your why. And values, those are your core values. And most people have core values. That most people have worked with a coach or consultant and developed their core values. When I talk about a vision, I talk about something simple, something that that draws out your passion for why you started this business. Your mission part is your big, hairy, audacious goal. If you recall, there's a guy by the name of Jim Collins who wrote a book called Good to Great. He's written a ton of books. And Jim talks about you got to get great people on the bus. It's a great metaphor because it implies a destination. You're going from point A to point B. Imagine if you're trying to get to Florida for spring break and you jump on the airplane and the flight attendant comes and says, "Hey, everybody, thank you for joining us today. We're flying to Oklahoma for this trip." And you're going, "Wait, I don't want to go to Oklahoma. I want to go to Florida." You got to get off that bus. It's the same thing for you. I mean, the flight attendants, they don't want you on that plane either because you're going to cause a problem. So you want to have a clear destination for where you're going. And then you want to use that as part of your strategic planning process. You want to use that destination for measuring your blocks of time for achieving that. So you have, and you might have a vision that's 5-10 years down the road, but what are you going to accomplish in the next 12 months towards achieving that vision? And then what are you going to accomplish in the next quarter towards achieving what you are trying to accomplish in the next 12 months? And then what are you achieving each month to make sure that you're achieving your quarterly goals, to achieve your annual goals, to achieve your long-term goals? So it's a really important step. And so that's your mission. Your purpose is your why. And you've probably heard TED Talks on why do you do what you do? Why are you passionate? Why did you start this business? And then, as I said, your core values are usually a list of 4, 5, 6, maybe 10 core values of what you hold sacred in your organization, how you do business. You hold these key values and how you do business every day. So first step is mission, purpose, and values. You're going to use it in your strategic planning processes. You're going to use it to onboard employees. You're going to manage employees. You're going to use it to hold employees accountable. It's a very powerful tool. Second step is your organizational chart. And most organizational charts, if you've ever done an org chart, you've probably felt this sense of control that, wow, I really understand what's going on in my business. Here's my business. Well, what we recommend is that you use your vision and create the organizational structure of your future vision, not just what is today. That's just coming to work every day. So what are you building? Create the organizational chart of your future vision. Hence another reason why you want to create that vision. Build the organizational chart of your future vision. The organizational chart is a blueprint of all of the positions in that future vision. And it's going to tell you how many employees you need. It's going to tell you who you need to hire next. It's going to tell you what you expect of any employee in that position. And it's going to tell them and you how to achieve those expectations. There's another great saying, I believe it's Jim Collins also said this: you got to get the right people in the right seats. So there are lots of different work activities that go on in a business. You've got what, in a gross generalization, you've got what I like to say, heads up type processes and heads down type processes. A heads up type processor, these are your sales activities. Your salespeople, they're thinking on their feet, they're engaging people, they're listening, they're ebullient, they're smiling, they're attractive. People, they're building relationships. Relationship building is a heads up activity. Heads down activity is accounting, bookkeeping, things like that, where you're focused on numbers and you're not really focused on relationships. You're focused on the details. Well, those are two very different types of skill sets, and you do not want to have a person who is a salesperson doing heads down activity, and you don't want a person who's an accountant, some sort of sales, some sort of accountant doing heads up activity like selling. But you got to get the right people in the right seat. Your org chart is going to tell you those roles. These are the specific roles, and these are the activities in these roles. So as you hire people, you put the right people in the right seats, and you hold them accountable for what you train them in, all the processes that are in that role. Let me show you real briefly about what this might look like. If you have a TouchStone application, let's just bring this over here. If I log into, and this is our small business application, it's very inexpensive. It's $36 a month, and it's really easy to use. So when you log into your small business application, the first thing that it pops up is an org chart, and an org chart in TouchStone is a dynamic tool for helping you strategically grow and develop and run your business. It's not just a bunch of boxes in a PDF file. If I click on any one of these boxes, I get the full job description or a set of processes that will be used to train anyone hired for this position. And if I click on any one of these process names, I get the process tools that describe how to do what needs to be done. And I will use these tools to train someone in this position. It's very simple to use. If you have a position, you can simply click on these dots right here. You can edit positions, add positions, remove positions. If you decide that your customer service rep should probably be reporting to the manager of operations, you can move this around. Essentially, you build your organizational chart of your future very simply, and then you begin to add processes to each one of these positions. So when you click on one of these positions, you come up here and you add a new process, you give it a process name and click save, and it will add it to your job description or your position agreement. And when you then click on the process, you have two different tools for writing processes. So a work plan is the step-by-step sequential detail. Do this, then do that, then do this, then do that. The document tool is this wonderful blank slate where you can put anything you want. You can upload pictures, you can upload PDF files, you can upload you can put anything you want. Think of it as a big whiteboard where you can put anything you want. And you can hyperlink between these two tools. So if you have a process, a work plan where you receive the lead, you follow up the lead, and you want questions to ask, you can actually click and go directly to the questions that need to be asked. So you can build these questions and hyperlink directly to them and then go back and forth. So I talk about the importance of an org chart, but one of the reasons that I talk about the importance of an org chart is that while this is a blueprint of your future vision and you can determine who you're going to hire next, it's also dynamic. You're going to be using your org chart to strategically grow your business. You're going to be using your org chart to figure out what do people do, how do they achieve their goals, and By the way, we give you lots of training on how to do this. So we have a whole business development program where we walk you through the creation of your vision. We walk you through the creation of your org chart, the best practices for your org chart, how to write a process, how to organize your processes, how to implement your processes. All of that is covered for you in our business development program. So the organization chart is a really critical tool. So step 1, vision. Step 2, org chart. Step 3, you want to start organizing or identifying your processes. In step 3, we're not actually writing processes, we are naming processes. And what we say is that there are really only 4 activities that go on in your business. You've got to get the business. So these are the processes for sales and marketing. You've got to do the business. These are the processes for client fulfillment, customer service. So all the processes that are directly related to your clients in the fulfillment of the promise that you made in your sales process. So all of your client fulfillment and customer service processes. Third key function is running the business. These are all these back office operational procedures that are going on behind the scenes, things like finance, admin, HR, IT, backing up your computers, hiring people, firing people, making bank deposits, doing payroll, receivables, collections, invoicing, all that stuff. And then finally, guiding the business. Guiding the business are the processes for management and strategy, how you guide the business from where you are today to where you want to get to. So getting, doing, running, guiding. Process identification is about trying to figure out what are all the processes in my business. If I was to ask you today, what are the processes in your business? A lot of people look at me and go, I don't know. What are all the processes in my business? I don't know. It's kind of, it's paralyzing to be asked that question. But if I was to ask you, what are the processes that how do you get new business? You might say, oh, yeah, well, I have a website. I do trade shows. I mine LinkedIn, and I have Google pay-per-click, and I get referrals, and I have strategic partners. People refer us. So you just gave me 5 processes: strategic partnerships, referrals, trade shows, Google pay-per-click, website SEO. Those are the processes that you have. And then I might say, well, what do you do once you get a lead? So you get a lead from a trade show or Facebook. Well, we make a qualification call, and then we do, if the prospect is qualified, we do a site visit. And when we do we do a free consultation, whatever it is. And then when we do the free consultation, if it's a good prospect, we put a proposal together, and then we present the proposal, and then we follow up the proposal. 5 more processes. And then what happens? And then what happens? And so step by step, you walk through these 4 key functions, trying to understand what are all of the processes in my business. And the goal here is to try to think of what, think of it as a table of contents of all of the processes in your business. The goal is to try to size up the opportunity or the project ahead of you. A lot of people read these books, the Michael Gerber books, or the Gino Wickman Traction book, or all these other books on how to systematize a business, or the importance and value of having processes. And they just say, okay, I got to write a process for this. This is frustrating to me. Oh, I've got to write another process for this. I've got to write another process for this. And they get mountains and mountains of processes, but they don't have a plan for developing their processes, and they don't have a plan for implementing their processes. And so they never get anywhere. They just get all of this junk that nobody's using. So vision, organization chart, process identification, identify all of your processes. And again, this is a fairly simple step, and we have a whole set of processes in our business development program to give you. They're basically process names organized in these 4 categories that you can use to catalyze your thinking about what are the processes that I have in my business. And then you can add to them and create this wonderful process list. This, again, think of it as a table of contents of all of the processes that happen in your business. So after process identification, you basically link those processes to those boxes on your org chart, those roles, which help you define the skill sets and the responsibilities of anybody hired for that role. So every process gets assigned to 1 or more roles on your organization chart. in Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, he talks about as a business grows. It's his chapter 14. If you've got it, go to chapter 14 and have a look at that book. It's a chapter on organizational chart. And he talks about how as the business grows on the passion and the success of their passion, they get more and more employees. And everybody's accountable for everything. There aren't roles set up. Everybody does everything. And what Michael says and what we say is that if everybody is accountable for everything, nobody's responsible for anything. So what ends up happening is someone says, well, I thought you were going to follow up. Well, I thought you were going to follow up. I thought you were going to clean the office. I thought you were going to open up. Everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else because everybody's supposed to be doing everything. That's no way to run a business. What you do is you want to have accountability set up in these roles. You're defining these skill sets, so it's easy to find people with those skill sets. And your organization chart becomes this dynamic tool for solving problems, for growing your business, for defining who does what and how they achieve those expectations. So you link all of your processes that you defined in step 3 to all of the roles in the organizational structure that you defined in step 2. In step 5, well, let me say this. It's one of the key things here is that this integration between your organizational chart, your processes, and your employees is key to the development of a process-dependent business. If you just have a bunch of processes and nobody knows where they are, if they're not well organized, if they're not easy to find, if they're not easy to use for training, then nothing's ever going to work. So TouchStone has this wonderful integration of your processes, your people, and your positions, the 3 P's of developing a successful business: processes, people, and positions. And it integrates these 3 for you. Okay, so now that you've got your foundation built, what you're going to want to start doing is writing processes. And one of the things that we say is that if it's not written down, you don't own it. If it's not written down, you don't own it. In other words, if I tell you to do something, I'm sharing with you how to follow up on and make a qualification call, and I'm telling you how to do it. We call that the tribal method of training. And studies show that when I'm telling you what to do, the tribal method of training, actually, you're going to retain about 18%. 18%. That's less than 20% of what I'm telling you. And then you're going to go away and you're going to try to do it on your own. And there are no instructions for following up. So you're going to fake it till you make it. You're going to make stuff up, or you're going to ask colleagues, and they're frustrated because they're busy. And they probably don't do it the way you want it done anyway, because they made it up. And everything is done inconsistently. So you cannot hold someone accountable for doing something the way you want it done unless it's written down. If it's written down, if I sit down with you and I walk through the process and I say, okay, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. Does that make sense to you, Paul, whoever your name is? Does that make sense to you, Paul? And you nod and say yes, and you have access to that document after we finish. Now I can hold you accountable to that process. So if it's not written down, you don't own it. You can't really expect your people, you can't really even hold them accountable to the processes that you're training unless you've written it down. The problem is, as you get to this point of identifying all of your processes, you might have 200 processes. You might have 1,100 processes. And this is where you put your head in your hands and you go, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to get this done? I can't get it done. And you throw up your hands and leave. But if I was to say to you, no, wait, you've only got about 10 processes to write. Let's get those written. Well, usually you can do that. So what we teach you is how to prioritize the writing of processes. When you look at that table of contents for getting, guiding, running, and doing, when you look at that list of processes that you identified in step 3, what you're going to find is that there's some processes that are really important, and there are some processes that aren't very important. And if you've assigned them to roles, you can kind of look at your role, and if you're not going anywhere, you might have a bunch of really important processes. But if you're not going anywhere, like a 14-month vacation, you don't need to write those processes down because you're not going anywhere. You do them. You know how to do them. But maybe you've got a receptionist, and the processes on the receptionist job description are not that important, but she's going on maternity leave in 3 months. Those are important processes to get written. So what we're talking about here are not what are the most important processes. We're talking about what are the most important processes to write. And there are 3 ways to prioritize your process writing. One is pick a position on your org chart. Who are you about to hire next? Is it a customer service rep? Is it a technician? Is it a receptionist? Is it a virtual assistant? If you're a small business growing and you want to hire a virtual assistant, the best way to hire and train and keep a virtual assistant is to have the processes written. There's a guy by the name of Brad Smart who wrote a book on called Top Grading, and he says that 3 out of 4 hires are mishires. In all of his studying of companies, 75% of the time, companies mishire. They hire someone and they fail. And it takes them 4 tries to get 1 employee. That's maddening. And that's probably because they don't have a recruiting process. They don't have an interviewing process. They don't have a hiring process, a training process, and a management process, and a firing process. 5 or 6 simple systems that would, by the way, all of those we have written in our library that is available to you if in this business development program. However, if you've got processes down, if you've got these written, you really shouldn't have to hire 4 people to get 1. You should be able to get the right person every single time. So pick a position, hire that position, get those processes written, and then start interviewing for that position, and use the processes to train someone in that position. Another area, maybe you're not about to hire someone or you're not ready to hire someone, pick an area in your business, pick a department. So basically a key function, guiding, getting, running, doing. Pick one of those key functions, and usually within those key functions, there's a subcategory. So for example, in sales and marketing and getting the business, you probably have processes for generating leads. You probably have processes for qualifying and converting leads into sales. And you probably have processes for taking prospects and nurturing them into sales. So there's a great opportunity to pick one of those areas and focus on it. Is there something that's missing there? Or maybe something, an area like client fulfillment or customer service. Focus on a specific department. And then a third possibility is look at what you do. If there are things that you do that you say, well, the reason I do them is because it just would take me so long to explain to someone else how to do it. There's a classic example of where you should be documenting that process and giving it away. You want to look at the low value activities that you're currently doing, the low value tasks, and say, someone else should be doing this. In fact, there's a great exercise that we run called Should, Love, Hate. And we ask you to give me a list of the things you love doing. Give me a list of things that you hate doing. And give me a list of things that you really should be doing. And then one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look at those hates and we're going to get them off your plate. And we're going to write documents for you so that you can delegate them to someone else, because you should be enjoying your business. You shouldn't be hating things. You should be loving what you do. And usually those things that you hate are things that you're not good at and things that someone else would enjoy doing. Just because you hate doing it doesn't mean that everybody hates doing it. Someone else is going to be enjoying doing those things. So let's get them off your plate, give them to someone else. So those are 3 ways that we might prioritize the writing of that extensive process list that you developed in step number 3. And because they're linked to roles on your org chart, which was developed in step 2, you can give them away easily. You simply click on that role, and there are all of the processes for someone who's hired for that role, something to train them in and something to hold them accountable to as you're managing them. So those 3 ways of prioritizing: pick a position, pick a department, or look at the low value tasks that you do. And what you will do is you'll find that you're focused on maybe 6, 8, 10, 12 processes at a time, not 1,100, 6, 8, 10, 12 processes at a time. You will write those processes, you will implement those processes, and then repeat. Prioritize, write, implement, repeat. And that is an ongoing process. So steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's kind of like a project. And really at most, that takes somewhere between 5 and 10 hours to do. Step number 5, the prioritizing, write, implement, repeat, that's ongoing in your business. You're never going to systematize your entire business. You're going to just write up the processes that are the most important processes to get written, and then you're going to implement them, and then you're going to innovate them, and you're going to repeat, and you're going to write other processes, and just an ongoing thing. And this is not just your responsibility. This is the responsibility of any department manager, and very often some frontline employees who know how to do the business or know how to do that process well. They do it every day. They can write the process, and they can help you write processes. So one of the things we teach you is how to roll this out, how to roll out the whole idea of writing processes to the people in your business. Okay, so essentially, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of small business owners. We've taken them from this position or this place of being stressed, overworked, confused, not really enjoying their business, to this place of being calmer, more in control, really loving their business again. We gave them a plan that helped them figure out how to make this true. That they read all this stuff in these books about how to create a business that gives you freedom, how to create a business that gives you this feeling of success, how to create a business that's worth a lot of money. And we actually have given them a plan and a tool to help them create that process to business, to help create a business that actually serves them where they're not serving their business. A lot of people come to us at the very beginning and they just feel like their business is a monster. They think of growth. They think of scaling their business and they think, I don't want to grow my business because it's just going to make me crazier and more stressed out and more freaked out. That doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So I have an offer for you. The TouchStone software is $36 a month. We have an offer that if you purchase 3 months, you get a 4th month free. So 3 times 36 is $108. $108, you get a 4th month free, and you get a full do-it-yourself business systemization course. So you get basically a tool to systematize your business, and you get a plan to get your business systematized. The do-it-yourself business systemization course is a course that I deliver one-on-one live with business owners. It's a $4,000 course. I've taken the key nuggets and the assets of that course and put them into a series of emails that we deliver over a number of weeks so that you can do it yourself. And because you do it yourself, it's not a $4,000 course. We've made it a much less expensive course, but this is a value that's around $450 value. The course is about $300, and I'm giving you 4 months of TouchStone for the price of 3. So for $108, you get 4 months of TouchStone, and you get, because it's going to take you more than 4 months to create this foundation and to build all these job descriptions and get everything dialed in. You just can't get it done in a month. But we give you 4 months to do that. And we give you all the assets and all the tools and all the videos, everything to create a process-dependent business with 100% money-back guarantee. There is one caveat to that 100% money-back guarantee, and that caveat is that you have to quit in the first 30 days. You have to tell me, you know what, Mike, this isn't working for me. I haven't done anything, or I don't understand it, or I can't do it, or I don't want to do it. Doesn't matter what your excuse is. No questions asked. You just have to quit in the first 30 days and you get your $108 back. $108 is a very small investment to be able to get to this place of freedom, to get to this place of reliability, consistency. So I think that's it. If I've put in the chat box, let me just make sure in the chat box, if you click on, if you notice in your chat box, I just put this link in the chat box. If you click that link, or if you're smart enough to be able to copy what this says, what you'll see is an order form that you'll come to, where you'll put in your name and information, your credit card information, and as you see, you get 3 months. You pay for 3 months, $108. You get your 4th month free. and you get the 5-step business systemization do-it-yourself plan. And if notice down here, it's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So that is the offer. Are there questions? You can put your questions in the chat box. No questions? Okay, great. I really appreciate you attending today. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be sure to get back to you on the telephone. You can set up a meeting with me. We can do a demo of the software if you're interested. I can answer any of your questions. Happy to do that. Thank you very much. This is Michael Mills. Bye now.